segment now. So now we're gonna go into the underhook side, okay? Now the underhook side is a little bit more dangerous. It is the more popular side because it gives Tamara a few more options of attacks. But it's also the one that's a little bit harder to control at the beginner level because there's a lot of little micro adjustments she has to make. So remembering the first drill that we had, where we have the wrist control and this time maybe I've kind of forced Tamara to that side, or she took me. As soon as we get there, there's gonna be a head battle, right? And if I win this head battle, where I can get my head to the mat and my back to the floor, I want you to have the confidence that you basically escaped the back. The only thing right now is that she can recover it if we make a little mistake, right? So remember the elbow rule. This is gonna create a wedge in between us. I'm gonna turn into her, stay as heavy as I can, and make that wedge. Tamara more likely is gonna try to mount you. And if I'm slow, she will. And that's more points for her. So I wanna be able to push her off, shrimp to the side to extend this leg, and get that bottom knee in to go into our one leg X positions. So again, you can see that little pattern that we've been working on. That's gonna be your most essential kind of skill to develop. One more time, I go here. She wants to keep her head on that side. I wanna get my head over to that opposite side, getting my back to the floor, preempting her, get up where I'm already setting up my escapes into one leg X, right? And remember, we also have the option of the half guard, trying to bridge on top, but I recommend always one leg X for the counter attacks. Moving on, now we're gonna go to the popular series that kind of Tamara is gonna go for, which is wrist isolation drills. So we might start off in a good spot where we're here, but Tamara does a good job keeping the head positioning, and she also goes to this really common leg configuration where she puts her foot onto my hip and climbs this leg up. We call this triple threat because it allows her to set up 3 really common submissions. And the most common situation here is her isolating her wrist in between the legs. She can use both of her arms, several different setups for it, but the gist of it is basically she wants to trap this arm. And it's gonna happen to you quite often if the guy is a little bit better than you, right? Because again, it's just it's a chain that you might not be aware of. Sometimes they threaten a choke and you're just desperately defending the choke and the leg comes up. People have different leg lengths and kind of abilities. So someone with long legs, they might be able to climb up. Even if you have a grip over here and you're doing well and you're trying to get your back to the floor and that leg just catches you off guard. But try not to panic too much if your arm does get isolated. Get into a habit of just punching this up and trying to grab that foot to unwind the technique, all right? There will be situations where it's really easy because Tamara hasn't really triangled her legs or anything. We're able to punch, swim in, and then at the same time work towards that back to the floor technique as we did earlier. Sometimes it's gonna be a little bit harder. Maybe she crosses her feet and now I'm completely stuck, you see? So sometimes I have to use like my legs and every part of my body to get out of here, trying to unwind it or something and then trying to get underneath. But do try to recover that arm. And worst case scenario, still stick to the back to the floor habit. So even if things go super wrong, Tamara gets a collar grip on us over here and we're just almost getting choked, we can still get out of the situation if she makes one little mistake with her head positioning. Because if I can get my head to the floor, even if my arm is trapped, Tamara can't really choke me anymore. She can have a really deep grip here, but look, everything is unwind. And if I get my arm out and frame, I'll be back to that same habit as before where she's trying to get up and I'm able to escape, right? So try not to panic. I know it's terrible down there, but stick to the back to the floor drill and you'll be okay. Moving on, the next little kind of threat is the arm lock. So again, she's gonna go to that nice little position with the foot on the hip first and climb up. And she's been doing a good job of the head positioning. I'm trying to get my head to the floor and she's pushing me off and recovering. So the big indicator for this arm lock is pretty much this arm going over the top. Anytime this goes over the top, there's an arm bar coming pretty much, right? There's no other reason why I should bring that arm over the top. So when she does, we're gonna intercept over this arm. You can grab your collar with this one, and as soon as she passes the leg over, I'm just gonna try to catch it, protect my arm with the bicep grip, and just try to roll up on top, stacking, and we kind of rip out of this most of the time. Or we can, if the person is a little bit stronger, we can't rip out, we can allow them to grab our wrist and go for an arm lock, but we just focus on turning our thumb up to do the L escape, right? As long as your elbow is up towards the ceiling, there's no arm lock there, danger, you should be okay. The only time it's bad is if that arm is completely extended, but because of the angle, it isn't a great angle for Tamara here for an arm lock. So as long as I do this, you should be fine. Tamara has to do a complete spin belly down to be able to finish this, which can be a little bit challenging from that specific entry that she did. So that's our arm lock counter. I'll give you one other option for the arm lock counter in case the person is a little bit faster than you. She does get the arm lock, so cross the leg over, throw. But this time, instead of kind of like getting into a stack position, maybe her legs outpower you and you end up here, still try to protect your own arm, either with a collar grip or a S grip, and we're just gonna try to stuff this leg into half guard instead, climbing up all the way to the knee level. And then once you're up on the knee level, we're gonna go for that same habit as before, where I kind of allow her to go for the arm lock, but I slip my elbow out at the same time. And then you can often come up on top and pressure from there. So 2 options there from the arm lock from the back. Moving on to the last segment, which is the one hook dilemma one more time, but this time from the weak side, so we go this way. Perfect. Let's just rotate, start from this angle because I'm going to do a spin. Again, we're trying to avoid that second hook to not get the points taken. And now from the weak side, there's 2 general options that you can go for. On the strong side, we only had one, which is the alligator roll, to try to shake things off. From the weak side, we are allowed to build up to an elbow. And the main reason is if Tamara stays with a seat belt here, right, and doesn't come up on the elbow, we can turn out pretty easily and shake her off if she doesn't climb up. And especially because she didn't have that hook, our hips should be kind of protected there. And even if she has a grip on my collar, sometimes, right, we can ride up and just slip our head underneath and we'll be able to get out of there. So it's not a bad counter to do, especially if they only have one hook. So keep that in mind. But remember, from the underhook side, it's way safer to do. From the strong side, it's a little bit more dangerous. And your second counter is the alligator roll, which is basically I'm just going to do a roll and we'll end up on the opposite side instead. So I'll go like this, flat to the floor. I roll, Tamara follows me, and we'll end up over here where I'm trying to stuff a leg into half guard and go back to our position. Sometimes swings are gonna go quite good for Tamara where she's good at following me. So if she takes a hook, and you might end up with one hook but on the other side just like you were. So a lot of times we'll do an alligator roll, she'll follow me, cut through, but she'll have one hook there, right? And she'll be trying to cut under to take the second hook and take the back again. Right, so pull me that way again and then try to get that second hook, right? As long as you don't allow that to happen, you generally be okay. So be heavy after you do the alligator roll and she won't be able to kind of follow you up. So example of that is kind of here. Again, I do the alligator roll, but I just stay heavy on the floor. So if she tries to pull me to the other side, I'm not going with her. I'm just gonna stay here and just try to turn into her as much as I can. So following those like strategies, it should allow you to kind of stay safe from the underhook side and know your chains basically.